Hello everyone, welcome to the next webinar in 12D's training webinar series. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at 12D Solutions. 12D's training webinars showcase common industry challenges, taking a close look at industry best practices and how these can be implemented using 12D products. The aim of these webinars is to upskill 12D users and broaden their understanding of the capabilities of 12D products. We run these webinars regularly and record them for posting through our website and on YouTube. The previous webinars from this training series, as well as the webinars from our Industry Solutions series, are all available on our YouTube channels if you missed those. During this presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, as shown on the screen, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. Then at the end, I'll email your questions to the presenter for his insights, or if we have time, we might take a couple of questions live. Today's webinar will be presented by Graham Worth, who is Product Sales and Marketing Manager for 12D Field, with responsibility for management, development, and channel creation of 12D Field services and products. Graham has nearly 40 years of experience in the civil construction industry and a wealth of knowledge of 12D Model and other software packages. He's been here at 12D Solutions for the past 11 years. Today's presentation, Subsurface Engineering and 12D Model, will look at the role of engineering surveyors in subsurface utility information, or SUI. Graham will explore the current issues faced by surveyors and innovative solutions to manage and provide fit-for-purpose SUI surveys. The full cycle of SUI surveys, from detailed investigations through Setout installation management to as-constructed surveys, will be reviewed. We'll consider some of the challenges of meeting the revised AS5488 requirements, whilst ensuring that the end user of the data receives metadata and attribute information attached to the surveyed strings and points that is suitable for use. We'll also look at survey and asset information of value now and into the future. Over to you, Graham.
Thanks, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this is a can of worms, actually, SUI. So I'm going to just start with a little bit of a light memory of the past here. This is, if I can get it to actually run, that'd be good. Things were simpler when my surveying career started, and these, the trusty Chartwell survey field book and the wire chain, were my tools for data capture, and that was in 1973. Survey methods have changed dramatically over time, and they continue to change. Part of this presentation today is in New South Wales. We've been working, and particularly our distributor EXDS, with the RMS to form an engineering surveyors steering group, and the ESSG's mandate is to adopt data capture standards within the construction surveying industry. And for this presentation, I'd like to give recognition to, obviously, EXDS for all the work they've been doing along these lines as our New South Wales distributor, to RMS surveyors who've had invaluable input into the requirements that are necessary to cover all the aspects of the government department, and other participants in the engineering surveyors group, Lendlease, CPB, Seymour White, and some of the leading contractors within the New South Wales region. And particularly to the driver of this group, Michael Connor from Fulton Hogan. So what are the challenges of engineering surveying, and particularly in the subsurface utility information sector? Locator costs are very expensive, as is the equipment, the subsidiary equipment that are required for surveyors to actually do the surveys. The equipment complexity and training is required. Here's an example of a GPR, or ground penetrating radar, It's not only expensive, but there's difficulties in both training and implementation of the resultant information. Safety of the use of the equipment. They're out on the road painting everywhere. The survey equipment costs and training is also a very high aspect of this industry. Some of the things that we're going to look at today are the coding and mapping of SUI information, because as everybody has seen, walking down most streets within any capital city now, there's these paint marks all over the road. We as engineers and surveyors understand what they are, but the general public think there's just been some madness going on the footpath. The software choice to manage code and apply the attributes and metadata to this information is also very important. And I'm going to have a quick look at how this can be achieved using our product 12D Field. And obviously survey standards, both the AS5488 and the RMS have to be met to complete these challenges. So the further challenges is the AS5488 Standards. Clients and government authorities require the string and point data to carry sufficient attribute and metadata information. It's very important to actually understand fully what is being picked up and given to designers, as-builts and so forth. An important challenge is the flexibility in the attribute capture to meet the SUI complexities. And to provide, and probably the most important thing is to provide fit-for-purpose digital information. It's very important to actually understand what is required and what is needed. So the capture of the data with an easy-to-use attribute management, and this is where 12D Field actually comes in, so that the surveyor has a single source of truth, not files all over the place or data all over the place, everything in the one area. In 12D we use superstrings to manage this, and it's a very unique way of doing things. And the ability to simply find the required information, traceability is a very important part, because the data hopefully will be kept for many years and passed on to various players within the industry. So the bottom line here is pressure is on the surveyors. The decisions that they have to make are quite broad and require quite a bit of investigation prior to actually doing the survey to find out what's available. So the standards, let's have a look at the standards in AS5488. There's 4 different levels. I've ranged these from the lowest level, quality D. And quality D is just indicative location, horizontally only, from existing records or anecdotal evidence. It's just basically we believe it's somewhere in this area. The next level in the standard is level C, which requires some spatial positioning information, so a horizontal position of plus or minus 300 millimeters, and to locate visibly and from existing records. So it's basically you have to get out there, look at it and see what's available. They're probably for existing services within the ground. These two cover most history and information that we have from historical data. Level B is next. Obviously it's been traced here in this diagram. You can see the trace is using either a GRP or a radio detection methods for electrical charged services, and they also give a requirement for a relative spatial position horizontally of 300 millimeters and vertically of plus or minus 500 millimeters. So that's a traceability. It must be stressed, though, at this point that even though the tracing has been done, if the tracing is not continuous, the area between the B's on the trace on this diagram here can really only be a level C or D, because unless the pipe is completely exposed, we can't come to quality level A. Here in this diagram, it shows the quality level A has been using potholing to actually get the positioning of the service underground at the pothole positions. But even still, and this is the inevitable can of worms with underground services, is that yes, at the pits and at the potholes it's level A, but between those two, is the surveyor confident of the direction of that pipe? Unless you can actually see up the pipe or place a laser to find its directional stability, in other words, it's in a straight line, that quality level A and B can be influenced by C and D between the locations of the tracing and the potholing. So it's an interesting position that surveyors are put in, and there's a lot of responsibility that they require to actually complete a full quality subsurface utility information survey. So what are the goals within 12D and within the engineering surveyors community? Obviously, to standardise the service utility surveys to ensure that the provided data is consistent with the AS5488 delivery framework. Here's a couple of old surveyors here that look like they've been around the mill a few times, but it is clear that applying these principles through this standard, that the items such as time, cost, quality, and particularly safety, cost is another factor. It's most construction companies lose a substantial amount of money if they hit services, to reduce risks across all of the work portfolios on site and in preparation. So again, it is, I keep stressing this, that the responsibility of the engineering surveyors for subsurface utility information is a very important role indeed. Again, the goals for reliable information, and they include detailed surveys for design, during construction and as-built. SUI surveyors must be certain that the utilities, whether they're abandoned or active, are actually identified. So the searching and identification of anything that's under the ground is paramount in the first instance. That the utilities are recorded correctly, and as I stated, from those different levels of quality, A is a point quality, unless the only instance where A is not a point quality is when you're actually doing a work as executed and you can see the top of the pipe or the service conduit or the service at its full length prior to backfilling. The utilities are recorded correctly. Statement here is a very important one to be understood by everybody. And that the full extent of the service is known, whether it continues on, whether it is anything underneath the service that you may pothole to, the full extent must be known. And obviously the service width or zone of influence is captured. In some cases there is a requirement for a zone of influence, and that must be actually considered as an important part of any pickup for SUI surveys. And that the depths are known and the access is understood. So by that, I mean, if the depths are known, you may take a pothole with a 100 mil, 150 mil super sucker dirt removal system, but is that exactly the service, or is it just one of many services? So the depth and the access position is understood at the time of the survey. So that's one of the goals to, or the list of the goals. So let's have a look at the digital survey capture platforms. In the past, we've had simple controllers and recorders. These are slowly but surely dying away because of their capacity under a Windows CE platform to manage the complexity of the data that surveyors require in today's world. So Windows tablets, and particularly the latest version, Windows 10, is coming into being. You can see here's a Topcon version, a Trimble version, and a Leica version, and the generic Panasonic as well that we, a lot of our users are using. They're coming more and more into the use because they have the obviously the power to manage large data and also have a good landscape and graphical display to see the data that's being picked up. Because following along from what we saw before of those paint marks all over the ground, if a utility locator has marked it all up and then the surveyor has to follow through, he has to be very aware of what he's picking up and where it's going, and having a tablet with a landscape and a good plan view of that pickup is paramount to success of the survey. Obviously the power to process, because there's many things that the surveyor may want to do whilst in the field, and the ability, the storage ability of these tablets is also important. The application flexibility, there's many different programs that can be run on there. Obviously the one that I'm strongly pushing today is the 12D field for tablet use. We'll go into the reasons for that now. So in SUI surveys, obviously time saved is money saved. The surveyors are out on roads and footpaths managing and blocking traffic and creating general chaos amongst the general users of the suburban regions. So the faster that can be done, the better it is. And the industry has, over the last 20 odd years, become very reliant on surveyors for every piece of information. And I'll go into a little bit more how we can alleviate that at the end of this presentation. There's some very nice tools out there to actually share the load of management of the information that surveyors pick up. But surveyors actually improve time management through the field information that they provide, the reporting that they give back to engineers and clients and designers, and obviously on-site maintaining the site workflows, because without survey information, the job just doesn't get started. So the development of the tablet PC technology has really improved the ability to serve the surveyor's site continuity or survey continuity requirements. And this is an example of a tablet here with 12D field. For those that are not familiar with 12D field, this is our construction set out option here, showing plan view, resultant data of where to go to get to the point that you want to set out, and obviously a cross-section view at the same time. So let's have a look at just a construction life cycle. There's the data collection input, the design creation, the analysis and reporting and documentation, the stakeout and construction, and then the compliance and as-builting. We can see things in there, and I just add in here, under every area of the project life cycle in construction, for instance, SUI or services takes a role within every detail of that site. So it is it's a relatively new standard that we're working with the AS5488, but it is nonetheless a very, very important one in the construction cycle and in the industry as a whole. So let's have a look at Setout and Pickup in version 14 a little bit to see what advantages you can obtain by using our software to manage subsurface utility information or subsurface utility engineering. The term SUE and SUI are used respectively. And obviously, dim dark memories of my past is the old field book where you'd had to write everything down and then getting back to the office to plot it. So they're all good changes. And the solution really is taking your office software into the field, and that's what 12D Field does for or provides for surveyors. You can carry connect and control total stations, motorized total stations. You can connect and stream GNS, NEMA data, particularly through RTK, live to the tablets. And this obviously, I'm showing here just as a reminder, the Panasonic FZG1 tablet, but this works across the board with the ones we saw before, the FC5000 from Topcon, the TSC7 from Trimble, and obviously the Leica GS35 as well. So on the tablets, the design model data can be carried on board so that the surveyor has as much of the design information that he can get. Previous surveys can be carried on board so that you are able to have continuity. If you finish a pickup one day and you want to continue at the next, you don't want to have to search on the ground for where you finished the last park yesterday. You can just pull it up within 12D Field and continue on from there. And most importantly, the talk today is the user-definable coding, line styles and attributes, and the ability to review the surveys and check them in the field before either the work is executed is covered up or that the detailed survey is completed. So you can actually see what you've completed and so forth. So these are two of the things that I want to concentrate on today a little bit. So pick up SUI coding, I'll just do the Engineering Surveyors Group as the purpose to formulate and adopt uniform industry survey codes, particularly for the SUI industry. And that's done obviously in conjunction with the RMS. And for surveyors, SUI, detail, and their workers executed coding. And as you can see there from the myriad of lines and colours on the ground, there's information there on all sorts of things, depth, lines, types. So the surveyor has to actually pick up those and ensure that he's got all the detail managed digitally within his tablet. So let me demonstrate the code input through 12D Field and the management of complex attribute field input. And the end game, I suppose, is to actually minimise the surveyor's actual field input. The last thing a surveyor wants to do is actually stand there typing a myriad of information for one particular point, or having major coding for all the different attributes and the different scenarios that you have with service utility information surveys. So here's just a couple of slides. I'll duck into it live in a minute and have a bit of a run over. It's only going to be a short one on that today. That is our pickup code panel for STR pickup. You can see there you've got your code CD for picking your code, and here is a larger version of it on the right hand side. The code CD button allows you to bring up the codes, and you can also, highlighted in blue there is the string number, so you can manage the string number as well. This is actually in the singles, but we also have a favourites, which I'll just quickly duck into at a later stage as well. So let's just have a look at that. Once you press the code, here you've got a code feature GM string 2, and that opens up that panel that brings up the choices for your different codings. So that's just a quick pick of the box, and you can have as many of those as you like. And that allows you to choose. Here we've got a gas option, and underneath the gas there's many different codes that are required there, markers, pipes, all the different features that go with a gas. I'm just zoning in on one particular one today, and here we've also got the choosing the gas main, and that's what we've done with that. And that allows you to measure that with many various options. I've had quite a few questions about these buttons down the bottom here that are highlighted on the by the red boundary there. M is measure, measure and store is MS, with asking for the attributes or asking for you to input data or choose data. And MR is to measure and record using the previous attribute. So you don't have to keep adding stuff in. You can just pick up a gas main and then continue on with the same coding if you're aware that that is still the same coding. The buttons underneath it can be turned on or off. They're confirmed so that you can actually move, full screen measure and so forth. So they're available as well. But also with 12D Field, these can be all put into hotkeys, and you can minimize that panel down as you're doing your survey. So the M there, the red M is measure and store, and the MR is the blue, so you can measure it. You can do offsets, you can undo, and you can also do your string increments. So you've got plus and minus there for increasing your string. But these are totally customizable for the surveyors, and they can actually set up their own buttons for many different functions within the 12D field. So here is a typical gas main coding. You can see there that the last was a code type A, but the areas of choices you can see on the right hand side here, and if I can just highlight that with my little circle on the mouse there, you've got quality level A that can be pulled up as A, B, C or D. What's the justification? The depth is either input manually, or you can actually use an attribute macro to add those depths later. Materials, size of the pipe, the surveyor's name, the date of the survey, and obviously the utility owner, how it was picked up and what status is it, and I'll go into that a little bit more live shortly. But you've also got the ability with pickup to have your background images in there. You can have live sectioning so that you can actually see your pickup live within a ground surface modeling as you're going on. For clash review and so forth, and many other options. You can actually do individual sections to pick up areas and to look at zones and so forth that you may need to be required to put in there. So it's the flexibility of having the entire package of 12D, not that you would use everything within 12D in the field, but the ability to choose that if you need to. And obviously one of the nice features too is a live perspective view so that you can actually see it. So I'm just going to quickly duck out now and pull up this 12D field job here and have a look at what we've got here. So here in the coding, I've just fired this up. With 12D field, you've got the ability to obviously choose a code. We can go in here and we'll do that gas main one more time. So we've got a gas, choose that, and then you've got your ability to have your codes in one panel as a whole. This is customizable so that you can have as many, and this could actually widen out depending on how many rows or columns of codes that you want. And then you can actually just pick those off the screen, and we can go to gas main and we can add in the string for that. and press OK. And so when we actually, excuse me, I'm just using a simulator here, which is always a bit clunky. And I'll just position this down here. And I'll just minimize that down so that we can actually come back to it. And I can take a measurement, or I can measure and store. And when I measure and store, obviously 12D checks your pole. The surveyor has the ability to have most things as a choice box. Here is some of the quality level here. So I'll just put this down as a B for this stage. What's the justification? Obvert, center, invert. What was the depth of it? We'll just say, in this case, a meter. What is the material? And these choice boxes, you can see here, there's lots of different choices. Gas main, I'll just make this a steel one. Its size, you can either have an input of the size if you're unfamiliar with the size and you have the ability to measure it, or you can actually pick off a predefined list. You can also choose the name of the surveyor that you want to use. I'll just use my old friend Scott there, and the date. We are working towards having that date automated as well, so that's an option that will be coming to as well. Who is the utility owner? I'll just put gas in there. And what status is it? These are just some of the examples, so it's an as-built. Now, if I bring up the actually attribute manipulator in a second, so I'll just set that and continue, and then we'll just go in and move that instrument, because I'm using the simulator one more time, and we'll put another position over there to survey. And you can see with 12D field that it's continuously joining to your last string. So for the surveyor, it's an advantage. He can see where he's coming from and a link to it. When you're using the favorites option within 12D, you can see up here, I've got the favorites or the singles. You can actually call up a set of favorites and run with those as well. I'll just chuck into that if I have time there as well. But in the second measurement for this gas main, all I have to do is press the measure and record down here on the panel, or use a hotkey button, and it fills in the previous attributes that you put in for that string. Very, very intuitive way of doing it to speed up the surveys. And I'll come back to that. Time is money, and money is saved if the surveyor gets in and out of there quickly to do the job. And then we can actually go in and have a look at the attributes that are collected from that. So I'll just pick on that, and we'll go to the and I'll just drag this over here. So this is the survey. You've got it's a steel pipe. For the pipe itself as the string, and we've got the vertex information that we've got on here as well, so that we've got that position, what quality level is it, what the obvert, and they're all attributes written in. Again, with 12D field pickup, the other advantage is that you've got for the surveyors reference back to his quality of his work. He has also in here the station details that this was picked up from, all the measurement details for that, geodetics. Under the 12D field, you also have the full measurement details here of what instrument was used, who was the surveyor, what date, and this is tied to it at all times, and obviously your details that you stored. Now with that, you don't have any real restrictions on the number of the numbers of attributes or metadata that you want to put onto your survey, which is a huge advantage for those that want to actually capture a lot of information as they're going forward. And so let's have a look at the survey 12D field. The pickup codes itself. We'll have a look at the pickup codes. That is how we actually come to those choice boxes for the details that we're going to put on the attribute codes. And the pickup 12D field pickup codes is a way of using, we use the map file and the pickup code. So the map file defines the lines types and the symbol types and the string types and colors and so forth. But the pickup codes editor actually gives you this panel that provide you with the code listings, and we can see how that goes down here with the gas. So I'll just click on the gas, and you can see here if I drag this out a little bit, it's probably a little hard to see on this 4K screen, but we're getting there. And you can see the details there of the choices that I put in, and they're just a matter of actually adding in a child underneath that if you want to add it more in. Let's have a look at the quality level. So the choice box is created by actually using a choice in the pickup codes listing. The prompt is obviously the quality level, and that's what we see when we actually fill in the panel that we see on the screen. And then you've got your choices down here, A, B, C, or D for those. The same for the justification. It's a choice again. The depth is a real value in this case, but that could be another option as there as well. That can be a measured option as well if you wish. The material again is a choice box that gives you that. The size, in this case, it's a choice box with many different sizes placed into that choice box here for different size pipes and conduits. But that could also be a real value if you wanted to, or a measured value. Surveyor's name, if you're a owner of a tablet with your own 12D field, you would obviously only have to have your other one. And as I said, the date is a text, the owner and so forth, and the stablet. And you can also have comments in there to actually allow for continuous use and comments added on to your attributes as well. So it's a very, very powerful way of capturing, whilst at the same time saving a lot of time. The other thing that's important with 12D field pickup is you also have the ability to do opcodes here, and you can see we've got an opcode button up here, and it calls up these options down here. And here we've got 3-point arcs, circle features, the ability to close a string, and all different types of opcodes. So 12D field pickup is very comprehensive in its complete nature in supporting the surveyor to actually build his information up. So I'm just going to duck back to here, and we'll continue on a little bit here for the, and we looked at that slide, so it's obviously not jumped back to the right place. So there's other things that go with 12D field. So there's macros available, and to actually capture images. So the surveyor can not only have his graphical interface showing his pickup detail, he can also attach images to those survey points as well, which is another huge advantage for picking up SUI, because I believe you can't have too much information. Surveys can be scanned and allow you to utilize that within 12D as well. And that's a bit of an overview there of the 12D field pickup and the SUI. I hope it's been informative. But one other thing, and back in an earlier slide, I said the surveyors were under pressure. Surveyors are relied on dramatically within the construction industry, particularly for information from everybody. 12D has now a 12D view, which is changing the way we can actually, as surveyors, we can share the load, shall we say, with our engineers to make them, one, accountable, and more independent on the information that the surveyors provide, because 12D View allows an engineer to open up files, open up jobs, different formats that they can bring in, so they can see the survey, they can use that string attributes information to look at who did the survey, what the resultants were for the survey. They can put their reports into their job files and see the reports and so forth. So it actually, whereas in the past, engineers and superintendents and foremen would be coming to the surveyor and asking many, many different questions. In this case, with the 12D View, the surveyor can actually issue the information digitally, and then it puts the responsibility and the power back in the hands of engineers and superintendents to look at the data. So 12D View is an exciting new thing coming up as well. And here's just a feedback that was done some time ago, but engineers are utilising 12D for the purpose of utility analysis. So they can actually look at what the surveyors picked up, review it, have a better understanding of what they're looking at, rather than the surveyor taking them out by the hand and pointing at the paint mark on the ground. They can actually see it themselves. So they can see also the information that is available. So again, time, cost, and quality benefits are being seen through the implementation of the viewer. And engineers are actually enjoying this empowerment and ownership and accountability of the information that surveyors provide them, rather than just a simple PDF report and let's go and have a look at the site situation with the surveyor. It's also freeing up a lot of time for surveyors. So that's about my presentation for today. I thank you for your attention, and I hope I've been of some value to you.
Thanks, Graham. I think I've got a few other questions, but I think I'll email those ones through to you because they may take more than just a verbal explanation. Seems like everyone's been very engaged and very into this today, so thank you very much. The recording of the webinar will be available in coming days through our website and our YouTube channel. Keep an eye on our emails and social media for details of our future webinars. And in other news, as you may know, the 12D Synergy team is hosting a roadshow across Australia from this coming Monday, the 11th of November. It's all about how you can take your business mobile with 12D Synergy versions 4.3 and 5. You'll see 12D Synergy's new features in action, including a new offline data mode, CAD plotting, cloud, web, and 12D Synergy mobile. You can also meet the 12D Synergy team and network with other 12D users. The roadshow will be travelling to Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth. Registrations are open. The event is completely free, but spaces are limited, so make sure you grab your ticket right away. We've got a link to that on the homepage of 12d.com for easy access. And if you need to contact us in the meantime, our details are on the screen now. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.